Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. All right.
We thank the Most High Yahuwah for allowing us to come out together and be together again today. We thank Him for all that He has done throughout the week for us, how He has kept us close in our right minds. He has protected us from all hurt, harm, dangers seen and unseen. We thank Him for how He has provided food, clothing, and shelter for us. And we greatly appreciate it. We thank Him for how He's protected our loved ones. We thank Him for how, He's keeping us with employment or keeping us gainfully employed during these times when you have so many people who have lost their jobs, so many people who have gotten evicted. And, we thank the Most High for all that He's doing and He's continuing to do for us, and we thank Him for it. So at this time, we are not going to prolong the time. We are going to stand, face the east, look towards Jerusalem, our homeland, as our elder Zabud Yahu brings us in with prayer to open up today's Shabbat lesson.
Behold, we come before your throne just thanking you once again for allowing us to meet and gather here today, Father, to partake of your word, Father, to eat this bread, Father. It's going to be nourishment for our bodies, our soul, our spirit, and our mind, Father. And so we thank you for it, Father, in your Son, Yashra'al. We ask that you look in upon Maury Kasadaba, who is not with us today, Father. I pray that he is safe. Be taking care and camp your angels around him, Father, as he is on that road over these highways and byways, Father, trying to make a living for his beautiful daughter and his son, Terrell. We thank you for Solomon and James, Father, who have joined us via Facebook, and for all of the rest of the Mishpachah who are out there, Father, joining us from Facebook. As you would keep them safe and you will let them feel, Father, even that they are here. Let them feel your spirit flow through them, Father, as we sit back and protect his word. Thank you for Yashra'al, Father, who will attempt, Father, to break your word down and expound it in such a way that will be palatable for us to receive. Father, we ask that you will look in again upon all the other Israelite brothers and sisters who are scattered to the four corners of the earth, and ask that you would just baruch them, Father, even wherever they are. Looking upon Maury Yirmiyahu, who he and his family are on their way, Father. Give them traveling graces, Father, to and from, and anyone else who might be on their way. Father, we ask that you will look in upon Maury. Maury in training, Shalak Yahu and Baruchi and his family, Father. Thank you for our precious little young member, their daughter who is on their way, who is back here in Atlanta, and just ask that thy will be done. In your son, Yahushua, Mashiach's name, hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Before we start teaching, we want to recognize and honor our senior moray here at the congregation of Yashra'al. Senior moray Kasada by Yashra'al, and his absence. We always want to, honor and remember our leaders when they're present with us and when they're not present. And we thank the Most High of Yahuwah for giving us a wonderful leader. We also like to recognize and honor all of the morays who do such a wonderful job with the Mishpachah and their congregations and their family. That would be the Chief Moray Lamad Yahu Yashra'al,
yes.
Samak, Moray Hananiah, Moray Yasav Lanut at Salt Community, all of the Morays everywhere. Moray, Yashra'al, who works with Moray, Lamaya, who Yashra'al. And, we thank the Most High Moray Yirmiyahu, all of our elders, officers, no matter what your call, so whatever your calling is in Yahuwah, we thank the Most High for you and want to recognize you and honor you. And with that being said, we are going to continue from the lesson I started a couple of weeks ago entitled "The End Is Not Yet." And today we are going to go to the book of Matthew of Matthew, the 24th chapter. We will start at we will start at verse 15. We will start at verse 15. Hallelujah. And before I start, let me put out a disclaimer and say that the message is not targeted at anyone specific, but at the same time, it's targeted at each and every last one of us. That's me, that's you, whosoever is under the sound of my voice, whether it be by way of Facebook, YouTube, or whatever social media platform you may frequent or be on. We are living in some times where we have to be conscious of our surroundings and what's going on around us. And I would recommend that each morning, all of you who say that you are awake, when you get out of bed, make sure you get up knowing that these are perilous times we're living in, and make sure that urgency is always at the forefront of your mind. Because it's easy to get distracted by what's going on around you and by what people are doing and how well it seems people may be doing. So with that, let's go to Matthew 24, starting at verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in a set apart place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Now, we know this abomination of desolation has already taken place. It took place during the time of the Greeks, during the time of the Maccabees. Now, what we must also understand is that prophecy works in duality, not just it's not just unilateral all the time. You have things that take place in the past that will also, the same prophecy will recycle and take place again with the same people of another generation of that nation. Because guess what was always going to happen with Israel? As long as they were going to what? Be disobedient to the word or the commandments, the punishment will recycle and take place every time they walked in rebellion or disobedience. So that's why when you open up the Hebrew scriptures, what we call the Torah and the Tanakh and the Brit Kadashah, what you have is most of the time, 90% of the time, when you're reading about the nation of Yashra'al, where are they? In captivity. Most people don't realize when you read it in the New Testament, and it seems like they have all of this freedom. They're going here to and fro doing this and that. They're in captivity during that time period. They are under Roman occupation. So we have an abomination of desolation took place then, and I think there's a lesson I had started one time, and we were going to show that the abomination of desolation will take place again, but it's more so focused on the land and not the temple. Y'all ever notice the land has always been the center point around prophecy? Not the temple. Hamashiach had just told them, well, in 3 days, this thing won't be nothing, won't be one stone, what? Stand upon another. It is said, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. We know this is going to have to take place again. Why? Because if they had to flee then, when they were in the land and they had to go out because of the persecution and onslaught of the Roman army, they had to leave their land and go into the interiors of Africa. You know that we're going to have to do the same thing, those that are in the land. Because he's already told you that war is coming to Jerusalem. The land has to be purged. He said the blood will be up to the horse's bridle. The horse's bridle is up where the bit goes in his mouth. That's a lot of bloodshed. We're doing symbolic and it's a metaphor, but it's showing you the devastation of how much bloodshed there's going to be. He told you he's going to have to even call in what? The vultures to eat up and carry away the carcasses. It's going to take us 7 months, what? To even bury the dead. This is what Yahuwah is saying. So what we have here, he's given his Talmudim or disciples a picture of what's to come. But he said, out of all this, what did he say? The end is not yet. It's to let him which is on the housetop not come down to take what? Anything out of his house. Why is he saying that?
You won't have time to go back.
Yeah, you have to remain in a place where you can be protected or shielded or covered. He said, if you're on what? If you're on the housetop, don't come down. Stay there where you're safe. You're more safe there than coming down to being exposed. Don't you come down to take anything out of it. He said, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Do you see the urgency with what he's saying? You have to redeem the time. You don't have time to waste. And that's why even today, in the times we're living in, it's very important we examine everything we do to make sure that we're keeping the right mindset in the right frame of mind. And we're going to see why in a few minutes. He said, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Why is he saying that?
Again, because if you get, like you say, you get exposed, you're killed, captured.
Right.
It's too dangerous.
It's too dangerous. So, with this, we ought to see that we're living or approaching these times. These things are coming upon us swiftly. If you don't believe it, pay attention to what they're trying to do. They're pretty much saying that they have a vaccine ready to go and start administering as early as the month of October. The world is fixing to be in trouble. He said, and woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And this is why it's very important to have a like-minded community and support. Don't you know if you with suck or with child, and you're trying to do that during these stressful times and what's to come, you know you wouldn't want to be doing that with just you and your husband.
Might not even pray to produce milk.
Yeah, you're going to need what? Support.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need a community of support around you. Because if shit should hit the fan, or some shit hit the fan, y'all know I tries. They just come out sometimes. You know what you're going to have to do?
Fight.
You're going to have to fight. But we should be in a position, unless it's a dire necessity, that we'll put a rifle in our women's hands.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a last resort. The men are there to protect. That's why it's important that we have like-minded people working with us, like-minded people who you commune with. Because I automatically know if something happened to you, our job in here is to make sure her, your boys, your daughter, everybody make it. And they're protected. If something happened to me, it's y'all's job to stand up and make sure Shia is protected and provided. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have to have a community, like-mindedness. And now it's not the time for us to try to separate everybody, go do their own thing. You over here and this pastor across 15 miles over that way. I'm over here and this pastor, and Brother Abad and his family is over there and that pastor 30 miles away. No, that's not the way to do it. You cannot fortify like that. And it's neither on the Shabbat day. That's very important. Because let me tell you something about Israel. We was talking about this the other week, how during times of distress, Sabbath keeping and a lot of that stuff, I'm not saying it goes out the window, but you have to understand where you are. Even during the time of the Maccabees, how it came to a point, they said either we keep the Sabbath and the nation be destroyed, or we're going to have to stand up and fight and go to war on the Sabbath. So what do? You stand up and fight on the Sabbath. Did he say delight yourself in him? Mm-hmm. A delight is not giving up your life laying down to die. It's making your whole look bad. When I go to war, when I pick up this rifle or crossbow or whatever, I'm delighting myself in him because I'm trying to protect and preserve his nation. It ain't no delight for me to go to war on my own, in my flesh, to take my gun and go to fight, not know if I'm going to be able to return home to my wife, my Isha, my kids. Because there come a time you have to make decisions. And that's a crazy person to tell you they're not going to protect their loved ones because it's the Sabbath. You don't need to be with anybody saying we just going to die because it's the Sabbath and they're not going to protect y'all. The moment you hear that, get the hell on. I don't care who you are and who you married to. You tell the Moriala Yotu told me to get the hell on when you get to talking like that. That's crazy. Did he tell you to help your neighbor to get his ox or his ass out of the ditch? Is it wrong to do that? So it's not wrong for me to preserve you and protect your life. He said, for then shall be great tribulation. Operative word here is what? Great. Thank you. I thought somebody was going to say tribulation. I'm like, bomb, wrong answer. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. Do we understand what he's saying here? Think about what he's saying here now. Do you not know all the wars and all the catastrophe, all the atrocious things that have happened and taken place since the beginning of time? But he's saying there's something coming that's worse and far greater than that. But he told you what? Still, the end is not yet. So, if we're reading this and we understand this, we have to have a certain mindset. We have to keep our mind and our eyes on Yahuwah. Because guess what? If not, it's easy to get caught up with everybody else. And guess what we'll be on the Shabbat? Right over there across the street. You see how you have open eyes and you see through a dark glass clearly, but look at the world around you. Aren't they operating like there's nothing going on?
Yeah.
We're going to see how that can get you in trouble in a few more verses. He said, for then shall be great tribulation such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. He said, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. He said, except for those days be shortened. If he don't shorten those days, there won't be any flesh saved. So why is he going to shorten those days?
So you have a remnant.
Exactly. So he can have a remnant. How do we know that? Because the next part of the B part of this verse says what? But for the elect's sake, elect always equates to Yashra'al or Israel. The elect is not the other nations. He's not shortening the days for the nations. Y'all out there in Facebook land, y'all out there in YouTube land, hear me and hear me good. Yes, you can reap the benefits for being attached to the nation of Israel. But you are not the elect. The elect is his children, which are the children of Yashra'al, the children of Israel. They are the elect. He's going to shorten the days for the elect's sake. It said, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Hamashiach, or there, believe it not. He says, someone say what? He's here or he's over there? He said, don't you believe it? Why is he telling you not to believe him?
It's a false prophet.
Yeah, because they're false prophets. This is why it's very important to understand what's going on in the scriptures. Everything that we have in this quote-unquote or so-called Old Testament, these are prophecies to give you a picture or some insight on what's to happen in the future down the road. You know, if anybody come telling you that, hey, come over here, Hamashiach's over here. No, you know not to go. If they say he's over there, you know not to go. Mm-hmm. This is our Goshen. This is where we should be preserved and protected at. Let me tell you something. When Joseph's brothers, the Israelites, came unto him, what did he do? Did he call them one by one and reveal himself? Mm-hmm. No. That was an indication and a picture of Hamashiach, Joseph being a prototype or a type of a Messiah or Mashiach to his people. It's a picture to give you a glimpse of what's going to take place down the road when Hamashiach comes. Mm-hmm. Just like Joseph did. He brought his brother in before him. Mm-hmm. He put the Egyptians or another nation out. He revealed himself to his brethren. Mm-hmm. What is Hamashiach coming to do? He's coming to pull the nation of Yashra'al from out amongst the nations. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm going to dwell in the midst of Israel forever. He comes and he's coming to reveal himself to his brethren, the children of Israel. Mm-hmm. That's why he said when he returned, he's going to what? They said the sky's going to unfold like a scroll. It's going to depart. And it said every eye is going to see him. You ain't got to tell me, I'm saying, you telling a black lie, he ain't over there. Because if you're over there, he right here, because we're supposed to be seeing him at the same time. All white lie. Whoever you might be. Go ahead, Akoti.
So, since he's going to be revealed to Israel and not the nation, it's not, since
You're
it's going to
really
be
loud.
revealed to Israel and not the nation.
Hold on, right now. Since he's going to be revealed to Israel and not the nations, I'm doing this because the people that are viewing, because your voices are so faint, a lot of times they can't hear what you're saying. So since he's going to be revealed to Israel and not the nations,
Does that mean it's not going to be like everyone in earth will see him? In Christianity they always believe that. Or is it going to be we're in a certain place, Israel's together, and he's going to be revealed to us first?
right? Because remember, she said, is he not going to reveal himself to everybody, or is it just going to be Israel only and the nations or the rest of the world won't see him? They will see him, but he's going to reveal himself to the nation of Israel. And how did Joseph reveal himself to the nation of Israel?
In front of them?
Okay, in front of them how?
With closed doors, the other nations were out.
Okay, the other nations were pushed out, but it's more to that picture that you should be seeing. Was that the same Joseph who they put in the pit? Or their brother? Who did they come stand before?
Like royal person.
A royal person. You talking the second in charge throughout all of Egypt. And Pharaoh even spoke to Joseph and said, he said, I only have more authority than you just by the throne. This throne is the only thing that keeps me over you. Because Joseph had what? The rule of everything. And he had a wisdom that Pharaoh didn't have. Remember, it was because of Joseph that Pharaoh and the Egyptians were able to sustain a famine that would have really wiped out the entire earth. Because remember, everybody had to go where? To Egypt. To receive and buy goods and fruits and stuff in order to sustain in their lands. So what is Hamashiach doing with the nation of Yashra'al? He's going to reveal himself to Israel. The other nations, They're not going to be, when I say this, I'm talking, metaphorically speaking, when he reveals himself to you, how's he going to do it? In majesty. He's going to set his people up. Remember, we're going to be in the midst of a system that's what? Crumbling. While it's crumbling and falling, guess what? He's going to raise and elevate the nation of Israel. The very people who went in as what? Slaves. How did Joseph go into Egypt? As a slave. Did he not elevate him? Is he not going to elevate us? How do you think you're going to leave out this captivity? Didn't he say, all of my sons and daughters, I'm not going to leave any of them behind? He says you're going to leave with what? Riches. The gold and the silver and fine raiment. How do you get that? They have to give it to you. He has to elevate you. In that situation that you're in. I think the Christian church said going from the pit to the palace. That's pretty much how it is. That's how he's going to reveal himself. The nation, they're going to see it but they're going to see it in you. He's going to reveal himself in you. And when he reveals himself and he stand up and he esteems himself, as the word say, glorify himself in you, that's when the nations are going to see it. He said, I'm going to esteem you before in the presence of the Gentiles. You going in as a slave just like Joseph. And right before their eyes, before they know it, you're sitting on the throne, overseeing and ruling over everything beneath you. Yes, I said beneath you, because that's where the nations will be, beneath you. Haven't you been beneath them in this captivity? Mm-hmm. You're still beneath them. Only thing you got to do is turn on CNN or Fox News or CNN. You see it every day. They got a stranglehold on you. Literally, spiritually, physically. Yes, economically. That's a lot of syllables. Sociably, it is what it is. This is how he reveals himself.
So are you saying more that just as Joseph revealed himself to his brothers all together, Hamashiach is going to reveal himself to the whole world, but we're going to know who he is, and they're not going to know who he is? Or?
Oh yeah, they're going to know who he is, but everything is time. Mm-hmm. Because remember, he's going to stand up in you and reveal himself in you before he even returns and comes in the physical.
Okay.
He's going to reveal himself to you because it's going the whole world is going to be astonished at how is it possible these people who we've had our knee on their neck, our foot on their throat, we had them chained by the ankles to make sure they're held down the right. How is it that these people who are on the bottom socially, economically, so long, how is it possible that they have risen in a state where it's impossible for anything to stand? Everything has fallen. How is it possible that they have risen with less than anybody? That's what's going to floor the nations. That's what's going to make them humble themselves and serve you. Not all of them, because you remember Satan still has his seed out here. He still has his offspring. And they're going to influence on, but the vast majority, there's going to be a lot, they're going to humble themselves. And they are going to bow down to you because they're going to see Yahuwah and all his esteem in you, and realizing a changing of the guard has taken place. What did the Most High tell Esau to do to Jacob in the last days? Y'all don't know what the Most High told Esau to do for Jacob in the last days? He told him to remove, did he not tell Esau to remove something from his neck?
Yoke.
Yeah, Esau has his brother Jacob in a certain position, but it's only for a time. And when that time comes to an end, you know, Jacob has to what? Stand in his rightful place and in his rightful position. That's why he told you for Esau is the end of the world. And Jacob is the beginning of that world which follows. That's going to be a good homework assignment. I want somebody to have the answer for me next week. That whole story about Jacob and Esau.
What about?
Jacob is in one position, Esau is in one position. But the Most High told him at a certain time, Esau is to do something. And what did he tell Esau to do?
He told him this in Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Homework. Some good habits.
Because a lot of time, a lot of folk thought these camps were wrong when they said the white man is Esau. If you pay attention to history and realize what the Most High said was in, I don't forgot the child's name. You know I'm slipping. Y'all know Jacob and Esau's mother? I'm going blank. Yeah. Y'all know he said there were two manner of people in there. You got two different people in her womb. And Moray broke it down for us when he was talking about the paternal twins and fraternal. One is different from the other. One carried two different bloodlines. It's distinct, one from the other. A lot of times these camps are the craziest we try to make them. Now, not all white people or people white skin are Esau, but a lot of them, that's Esau. And I hate to say it, Esau was what? Was Jacob's brother. But it still doesn't change the fact that Esau is going to be destroyed. He told you he's going to eat them into powder. Now that's a you know what whipping. Somebody beat you into powder. Okay. It said, for there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. I'm going to read that again. For there shall be false Mashiachs and false prophets. And listen to what the scripture is saying now. It said, and they shall show great signs and wonders. They're going to do some things. If you're not careful, you could be deceived. It says what? It's almost that if it were possible. Operative word here is if it were possible. They shall deceive the very elect. Even with that scripture right there alone, it lets you know Israel is the elect. Because you know, Hamashiach himself came speaking in a language that only his people would understand. He didn't even want the nation. He wanted that nation to confuse, the language to confuse them, because the message was not for them. It was for his people. That's why he spoke to them in agricultural terms, because we were and we are an agricultural people and an agricultural nation. So he uses the term agricultural terminology to convey a message to his people. He deliberately spoke in Proverbs and all. Because he had to. Why? They were under Roman occupation.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke in a language that his people knew. You know the Romans weren't agricultural people. And today, only reason most Europeans are agricultural people because of the slaves. We taught them everything. They didn't teach us how to farm and grow crops and all that stuff. That's the knowledge we brought and we taught them. They're coming out of them caves and rocks up in Europe. What were they growing and producing? But the most they brought forth was a few potatoes. And when they had problems producing those, there was a famine. Y'all remember the potato famine or read about that in history? We're going to buy more books in here too. Unless I'm just that old. If it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. But why won't the very elect be deceived?
Because they don't know.
Because we'll know. Why will we know?
Because he said he's going to reveal himself to us.
He said he will reveal himself to us. We have the Moedim, or the feast days. We understand the prophecies written behind them. And we have a timeline and we have a guide that shows us how things should be. You know, the Most High, he's not doing anything in secret. We should know what to expect. What's the one thing that we have that will quickly identify a false prophet? I don't care how many miracles they seem to be working on, how many signs they're showing. Coach said, if they're not black, that's a good answer. True. But there's two things that should always identify a false prophet. They cannot do one or the other.
What they say coming
They can't
back?
go against Torah.
One, they can't go against Torah. They have to keep the commandments.
They'll use the wrong name.
Okay, they won't use the wrong name. That's a good one.
Bible says what they say come to pass.
There was something the Most High gave Israel that he didn't give any other nation. And he said forever it will be the sign between him and his people.
Shabbat.
The Shabbat. So if Jesus come to you on Friday or Saturday prophesying, or Sunday prophesying, you know he's not the one. Because this individual, anybody that's operating in the Ruach or under Yahuwah or as one of his prophets, they're going to recognize, observe the Shabbat, and they're always going to recognize and observe what? The commandments, which is our Torah of the 10. If you don't see those two things, not one or the other, those two things, you know you got the wrong person. And just like a culture said, if anybody come, they have to come in the authority of his name. Okay. It said, behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in what? The secret chamber, believe it not. Who is he speaking to here? He's speaking to his Talmudians, also Israel. He said, I'm telling you. He already told you how he's coming. Then he said, when he returned, every eye shall see him. So I told you he wasn't doing anything in secret. So why wouldn't somebody be telling you to go here, there, to and fro? But you know why he's saying that?
Because somebody will do that.
Because Israel does not have an ear to hear. We know that because we're scattered out and sitting up in these lands of captivity. He's telling you for a reason. Do not go. Listen, I'm telling you now. I'm telling you what to look for, what to expect, how they're going to come. It said, for as the lightning come out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For whatsoever the carcasses is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So what is he saying to us right there? What is he saying to us right there? Y'all give me 1 second. Big old bottle of water would be great.
All right, the Bible. Lead everybody to sing along. Jesus loved the little children, all the children of the world. Yashra'al loves the little children, all the children of the world. Red and yellow, black and white, they are especially in the sight. Yashra'al loves the little children of the world. That's just what? Who's the question? Verse 28. I was texting, not texting, but writing scripture, so let me notes what it was saying. Okay, 28. Whosoever, for wheresoever the carcass is there, will the eagles be gathered together? What's the question on?
Okay. So what's going on there? What is he saying right there? He said, for wheresoever the carcasses is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
The children of Yashra'al are the carcasses that got beat up, and then the eagles are all the other nations coming together trying to feed off of them? What?
That's going to show you all what? The death that is taking place.
That's what I said, because
No, the death of where he's coming to.
I'm sorry, where Yashra'al is coming?
Yes.
Right, because remember,
Because the line before it says the east.
Right. Because I was always told that the eagles were the other nations. And, most of the other nations that had Israelite slaves had eagles.
this is a picture. Remember, because this is a picture of something leading up to the end.
Right.
Because remember, he talks about the tribulation, what's going to take place, and how what's going to take place has not happened since the beginning of time. You remember Maury Casada was talking about how a third of all of mankind
Right. Will be destroyed.
would be destroyed. Remember, all of this is a process. It's a time period. When we talk about in the day of Yahuwah, we're not talking about a literal day. We're talking about a time period in which he's operating. So what you see here is he's been very graphic in giving you an understanding and to paint a picture of how devastating this is going to be. Because the dead bodies and the carcasses will be so vastly spread out through the earth. That's why these things are coming about. And a lot of time, when you go, look at this, what you will see is we'll read something else where he talks about how, well, we'll get into that later. Go ahead.
So, is this necessarily kind of in chronological order? Because you have verse 21 and 22 saying about the great tribulation, and then after that, like 23 through 24 is the false Christ appearing. So are they appearing during the tribulation, or is that not necessarily in order? Could they appear before, during, and after?
Well, it's not necessarily in chronological order, but it's just pointing out different things within what we would call the day, I call the day of Yahuwah. You will have many false prophets or many antichrists come forth. Most people are looking for one, but there will be many. But there is one that comes to set up a system in the play who's going to correct a lot of what's going on now that's starting to take place now, as far as with a bad economy. Everything seems like it's going to hell in a handbasket. This is why his message is to Israel, showing Israel and those who will latch hold and listen to what he's telling Israel, come ye from amongst them and be ye separated. You come out. You don't go back in your house. You stay where you can be what? Preserved.
Mm-hmm.
As we were reading that, it was all about preservation of an individual's life.
Right.
It's all about preservation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that, we see you're going to have the Antichrist. You're going to have a tribulation period. Even in these times, your tribulation period, your 3.5 years, might not be in Jerusalem. It might be where Yahuwah has shown us favor and placed us as a mishpachah. Because when tribulation hits, it's going to hit all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I try to tell people, as crazy as Donald Trump might seem and sound,
He's the tip of the iceberg.
yeah, he's probably about the best thing that happened for black people. I know y'all don't understand what I'm saying, because let me tell y'all something. The only thing standing in the way of globalization and America being that nation that come in that really bring everything into place as far as globalizing, is Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have to bend to the powers that be, because he has his own money.
Right.
He don't need your money to do anything. He don't need lobbyists or anything.
I honestly feel more that if the Democrats get in, we're going to...
We're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
You feel right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me, Akoti Shaya, Mouche, we've all been talking about this this week, last week, because let me help y'all out there in YouTube
This guy,
and Facebook.
he's the only one that's keeping them. He with his rebellious spirit that he had towards the powers that be. He's literally keeping these people at bay.
He's keeping them at bay.
And yeah, he's racist. He's got his issues. But at the same token, if you let those Democrats get in, Mark of the Beast is coming. We definitely gonna get this COVID-19. They're gonna start off with that. Okay, with that.
And he should be racist.
Yeah.
He has a nation of people that he should be
He's
representing.
trying to present-
I'm racist, and I don't try to hide it.
Yeah,
I love everybody, but I don't love everybody equal to like I love y'all.
exactly.
I don't love white people the same level I love y'all. I don't love Asians at the same level I love y'all. I don't love any nation outside of Israel at the level that I love Israel.
Israel. So this is their time. Let them have.
Yeah, this is their kingdom. This is their time to rule. At what kingdom have you known that they make their people equal or put their people on the same level as they put with the people that they subdued.
None.
None.
Not even in Yashra'al.
The Romans had a pride that was called Roman pride, a Greek pride, and if you were of that nation or that bloodline and seed, you had that pride.
Right.
You were proud to be a Roman. You were proud to be a Greek, and you did not consider yourself. If they brought anybody from any other nation that allowed them to come in and live amongst you, you didn't look at them as the same as being equal to you.
Now, I mean, it needs to be said. I don't like it, but it's reality.
I love it.
It is what it is. I don't like being treated like crap, but
No. Let me tell you something. I have no problem in the way these folk treat me, indifferent or prejudice or racist. I don't have a problem with it.
I do have a problem with that. I'm sorry.
Because I understand who I am.
Right.
Did not the Most High tell you in the book, the nations to him are likened to dust on a scale? They're likened to spit on the ground. A drop that falls from a vessel.
Right.
That's what he said the nations are to him compared to who he's loved for his people.
Right. I don't mind treating them like dirt. I don't want them to treat me like dirt. I don't want to
But see, that's what I'm saying. Because when the Most High established, let me tell you something. When the Most High establishes a system,
It's yes.
let me tell y'all something about that. You know what?
Yes.
I almost said I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but no, I don't. I like telling the truth. I tell it on my mama, so you know I ain't got no problem telling you. Let me tell y'all something. Anybody out here listening to me or under the sound of my voice, by way of YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, or whatever platform you're on, do not get it in your mind that you're fixing to go into Yahuwah's kingdom and be equal with the children of Israel.
Not gonna happen.
It's not happening, y'all. I'm not saying you're going to be mistreated. No, I'm not saying that. But to think you're fixing to walk up in that hand in hand and you're on the same level, you're equal with Israel,
Not gonna happen.
you can't find that anywhere in the King James or Queen James.
But that's what they're preaching every Sunday.
And that's why it's such a harsh, it's going to be a bitter pill to swallow when people meet this reality.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I like about this congregation. We love everybody.
Yeah.
But we're not going to sugarcoat the word to keep from hurting feelings. Because the very people that might get mad at this word in their system right now, they're not mad because they have white privilege.
Go ahead, preach it, Mark.
They're not mad because of having white skin. They have 10 legs up on you in the race.
Not at all.
They're not mad about that.
In fact, they demand it that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you think I'm supposed to be scared and worried about somebody's feeling when I'm coming out of the book and I'm telling you what the book says? I think like my father. If he think that you're spitting unto the ground, guess what I think? If he think you don't have any more worth than a drop that fall from a bucket, I'm the spit image of my daddy. I think and feel the exact same way.
Yeah. Y'all get that side, I get this side. Let's get you.
How would I look? My father telling you, son, that's your enemy. He's showing you all throughout the world. He's telling you, that's your enemy. But in my mind, I'm like, no, they're not. They're sweet people. They always smile and say hello to me. And he done told me, son, that's your enemy. Anybody with wisdom listens to the word of their father.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so we're scared to talk like this and think like this. But not me. You have to be upfront and you have to be forthcoming with people. Because they don't realize there was a reason Hamashiach of the Messiah never went to the nations giving them a word. Not one time did he ever go to the nations and give them a word talking about his kingdom and telling them to come unto him. He went to his people. And he told his children, he said, don't you go by way of the Samaritan or to them Gentiles. You go to your brethren, the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He said, don't you do it. And even when he broke down and had mercy on one of them, he didn't go to him.
Mm-hmm.
His disciples said, make her go away. Said, she cried out after you.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Master, she said, my daughter is vexed with a demon. She wanted him to heal and deliver her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He said, baby. He said, baby, but you don't paraphrase. He said, it's not meet that I take the bread which belongs to the children and just cast it to dogs.
No.
He told this woman who's petitioned and sought after his help, heal my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And his word was, ma'am. He said, it's not meat. He said, this is not right. This is not the order.
Mm-hmm.
That I take the bread which belongs to my children.
Mm-hmm.
You are outsider and you asking me to take my children food that should go in their mouth
Mm-hmm.
and give it to your daughter. He said, I can't do that.
No.
He said, I'm only sent to my children. Y'all, I don't know how to put it to you any easier than I am. I know this is a hard thing to hear. It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I'm coming from the book. This is not nothing. I might be paraphrasing it, but I'm only paraphrasing so you can get a good understanding of what he's really saying here.
Right.
Because you know we get cute with this book. This book is about his people, y'all. I'm sorry.
You know, we're the only group of people on this planet, the children of Yashra'al, that actually do that. We will take from our own group of people and give it to anybody but ourselves.
Yep. I'm like that to the day. Let me tell you something. I see homeless people. I might give the other nation $1, $2,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not fixing to give them $5 and give Israel $1 or $2.
No.
That's not going. That's not even going to happen. You say, y'all, I ain't gonna let me sit up and lie. No, And I'm not giving them 5 and giving Israel 5.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, Because at the end of the day, those that are outside of Israel, that's a part of this system, they can get benefits and receive when you can't.
When you can't.
You have to go through hell and high water to get the same benefit that they receive with ease. The only thing they got to go do is say, I'm bipolar.
Done.
You could be the mass murdered 7,200 people, and they'll still tell you you don't have a mental problem.
Yep.
And all that person got to do is go in white and say, hey, I'm bipolar. I hear voices.
Yep.
And not many days hence, they're receiving a check.
That's real, Warren.
But see, this is the truth we don't want to deal with. But this is the thing we have to bring to the forefront. And this is why he's telling his people, y'all come out. I'm telling you what's to take place. Pay attention to what I'm saying. I've already told you how I'm going to come. And when I come, every eye shall what? See me. So all this, he's over here behind that curtain, and he's over way down the road behind that curtain. He's doing something secretive. You know he's not the one. That's what we call a false prophet or a false witness. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. There's a lot going on right there. Anybody care to elaborate?
Yeah.
It's immediately after the tribulation. So now, just when you thought it's supposed to get,
That's the first thing I saw.
not before or during the tribulation,
When you think it's about to get better, it's gonna get worse.
just when you thought it's all over with,
So it's gonna be completely dark.
now
Yeah.
it's fixing to hit the fan.
And cold.
The tribulation is the good part, because you've endured and made it through that. Hopefully, that's why, saints. I don't know how Moray, Kasada Bar Yashra'al, and myself and others. I don't know if we can instill or impart or beat it into you or whatever. Y'all, it's so important that we redeem the time and make sure we're putting all of our effort into putting ourselves in a position so we can sustain through what's to come. Deep down in my heart of hearts, as they say, I really don't feel like people understand the severity of what's fixing to come. I don't think people are. Let me tell y'all something. You really can't even describe what's fixing to take place. I don't think we're accustomed to seeing radiation get into the airwaves from one nation and it makes its way to this side of the world, and it has an effect on the body here until there's sickness from it. We're not used to wars and stuff making it to our front doors.
No, not at all.
None of us have ever had to stand in a soup line and beg for some chicken broth, not a soup, but broth, and hope and pray that they give us a slice of bread to go with it. None of us had to do these things, but he's telling you, not sitting. Now y'all know the people on earth have, the human race has what? Experienced some bad things. But did he not just tell us that? I don't care how bad you thought it was or how devastating it looked. What's to come, this can't even compare. Nothing has happened as bad as what's to come. So saints, believe me when I tell y'all, our every effort needs to be going into the plan that he has given us.
And Maury, he ain't took the people off the earth yet, have
No, he hasn't taken them off yet.
he? So you going through this?
Yeah. Are you going through it or up under it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people going to be cut off, they're not going to make it. It's going to be a lot of them just take their lives. You're going to have a lot of people just killing their families and stuff.
That's Israel.
Yeah, that's Israel and others. Yeah, that's Israel. Because you know the nations don't have a problem just taking themselves and their whole family out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to suffer this. I'm not going to allow my family to suffer.
That's something hard for Israel.
They go shoot wife, the 3 kids, then they put the gun through their heads.
See it in the movies all the time.
I've seen it in real life.
Really?
It didn't take Hollywood for me to see that. I remember when I first went to college, I had 2 professors did that. Had to kill the family. They came to the college in their office. You know, I take that back. They weren't professors. They had some high positions. They were executive positions. Yeah. Came to work and blew their brains out in their office. Both of them. Because, you know, a lot of nations, they don't put up and bear and deal with the things that we do. Because, see, that's the thing what everybody knows. We're one of the most resilient people that ever walked this earth. There's no way in hell we should have survived as a nation. Don't we keep thriving? And people be like, what in the hell does it take to slow them down or keep them down? We rise because we are his remnant. We are his children. We're his people. But he done told you, even with being his people, it's something for y'all thought the transatlantic was bad. That was nothing but a voyage compared to what he's a cruise compared to what's to come.
Good shit, Jesus.
But the only thing was about what's to come. not only does it affect Israel, but it gets the whole nation. But if you have been obedient to the words of Yahuwah, guess what? You'll make it through that. Let me get down to the part I'm trying to get to. It said, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall what? See the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with what? Power and great esteem. And he said, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect. I'm going to go back and read that. All y'all out there in YouTube, Facebook, pay attention to the scripture. All of this has taken place. Look at Hamashiach and look at what his command, his charge, and what he's come to do. It's that he shall send his angels of Malachim with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect. Who did I tell y'all his elect is? It's Yashra'al of Israel. And he said they're going to gather them from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. What are the four winds?
Four corners.
They're the four corners. Remember, he promised to scatter us in the north, the south, the east, and the west. We went into all of those hemispheres, and he's gathering his children. Then he said, no, now, learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, he putteth forth. It said, when his branch is yet tender and put forth leaves, you know the summer is nigh. What is that saying? All these things are a sign and an indication that what?
The summer is close.
The summer is close, but what is the summer called? A harvest. Remember, everything we speak about is concerning a harvest. Anytime there's a harvest, there's a what? A gathering. It says, so likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that the end. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm adding to. I'm sorry. It says, so likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. Very important. Know that what? It's at the door. Keep that in mind. Know that this is at the door. Let's go. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these what? Things be fulfilled. What generation is he talking about? Was he talking about the generation of his time?
No.
No. Because they knew that the end was not yet. How did we know he was not talking about the generation of his time? Somebody?
Yeah.
Because they weren't scattered.
Huh?
They weren't scattered.
Thank you. They weren't scattered yet.
Yeah, and then gathered the people from the four winds.
So remember, he was yet alive. So you know he would not been talking about the generation of that time. But there would be a generation on the earth, a remnant of his people that will be awake, the offspring of the nations of Yashra'al, the two houses, that will yet be on the earth during this time. That's who he's speaking to. That's why we've always had a recorded record that was preserved, even though they took it from us and tried to hide it from us and make it something of a Christian religion and all that. It was never their book. They never understood the book, and they don't understand it now. That's why it takes people like ourselves to break it down to and tell them what it's actually saying. It was for us and our children. Because we're the people of this time. We're going to see these things. If not us, our children. You ever ask yourself, how is it possible that out of all of these years, I've come up and I've been in all kind of worldly religions, all kind of understandings and beliefs. Why is it all of a sudden I come into or I'm introduced to this walk, and as simple as it sounds or as strange as it may look, because you're looking at the outer covering of it or the outer appearance, but it clicks and everything makes sense. It's because it was your time of awakening. The Father had you to go through all of that other stuff, see all of those other things, experience all of those other religions and stuff, and ideologies and philosophies, and you come into this knowledge. And the first thing you heard was, you're Israel. Out of all of these years of your searching and exploring, nobody ever told you who you were. And the first time somebody said, no, my brother, you're not a Negro, a nigger, or African American. You're the children of Israel. You're a Jew. Or you're an Israelite. And I'm not talking about a spiritual Israelite. A spiritual Israel. No, you're a direct descendant. And all of a sudden, it calls you to do what? Start researching and seeking like you never done before. And then the Most High start opening up and revealing more to you until without a shadow of a doubt, I don't care who stand before you, you'll stand flat-footed and say, yes, I am Israel. And know that the burden of proof is on them to prove that you're not, because you don't have to prove to them that you are. Because you got the book, it'll prove all you need to prove.
There you go.
Because it was for you for this time. He spared you, he saved you, he preserved you through all of that to bring you to such a time as this.
It's absolutely amazing.
And now, those very people that call themselves schooling you, you sat on the truth 1 year and they can't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. And they've been going to seminary and divinity schools for years. And they trying to figure out, well, how in the hell do you know that in a year's time?
17-year-old boys, man, just destroying pastors that's been there forever.
It's for you. It's yours. Don't you know can't nobody tell your book like you? Or tell your history like you? Let me tell you something. I can write about the colonialism and all that stuff all I want to. But can't nobody tell colonialism and the history like Europeans.
That's right.
Because it's theirs. They know all the ins and outs, all the nuances of it. I can't tell their history like they can. Because while I'm talking about George Washington, one of them want their actual bloodline, and they can trace it all the way back to Washington. All I can do is tell you about what I read.
Right.
They can go get records and say, so this was my great-grandfather, he fought in this war, and his father fought in this war, and his father fought in that war. And next thing you know, they sitting right there with Washington. And this is my great-great-great-great-grandfather, George Washington.
I was sitting with Solomon and one of his friends, Noah, the other day, and Noah is a descendant of Booker T. Washington. And Noah can go through that whole history like it was, like you were there. You really get the idea, like the mindset that you're there, you know, as he's talking about it.
And that's how we should be with the scriptures. And most of it, that's how we are with the scriptures. People don't like to fool with us with this book. Because the first thing they go to Jim, well, what difference does it matter if he's black or white?
Yeah.
Shit, your ass painted them all throughout Europe as white, and it left Europe and went around the world as white. Now all of a sudden, when you find out he's black and that we're the people, color doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It mattered when you put Charleston Heston and Elizabeth Taylor on television as Moses and what are they?
What a name.
What are they?
Moses and the Pharaoh?
Yeah, Moses.
Pharaoh's out.
Huh?
Pharaoh's out.
Yeah.
Nefertiti.
And
No, not there.
Or you mean his wife?
his wife. You know when she got that Moses, Moses, Moses. You ought to knew then you were watching the wrong thing. Cause you know black Moses wife, she wanted to be down. She was like, nigga.
You hear me calling you?
Yeah. I know you hear me talking to you. I done called your name 3 times. So you know you were watching the wrong thing. Moses, Moses, Moses. Okay, let me get back in the book. It's a verily, verily, I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things that what? Be fulfilled. He said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. Why is he saying that? Why is he saying heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away? What is he talking about there?
That his word will stand even until after.
Okay, you say his word will stand even to after.
This will be fulfilled. It's gonna happen.
This will be fulfilled. This is going to happen.
I think it's above all. It's that written that can't be changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what go on, no matter what go on, it can't be moved. Like who we are, who he is. You know what I'm saying? No matter what's going on, no matter what he does. Like I think just because it's just how it's supposed to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's right.
Oh, good answer. Ain't no wrong answers. Coach Tahiri.
Is it because in Revelation he talks about the new heaven and earth, and so like this one he's talking about is still the old one, but his word just doesn't stand even after.
Yeah, heaven and earth shall pass away. But like in Revelation said, his word is going to stand. But even more so deeper than that, what is the entire Abrahamic faith or the Hebrew scriptures built off of?
Marriage.
Covenant.
The covenant.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be broken.
It cannot be broken. It can be broken by, well, we broke it.
But we broke it.
But it's binding because Yahuwah himself, he walked the covenant himself. So it can't be broken because he's not going to go back against his word.
Exactly.
So whenever you see when he says, my words shall not pass away, he's only talking about the covenant. The whole entire book, which you're reading, what? It built off of the covenant. That's why when you read the book of Deuteronomy or Devarim, it's based off of what? His words are the 10 Commandments. The Devarim or the Devarim are what? Words. That whole 10 Commandments are those what we call the 10 words of Yahuwah. They are the binding contract that's everlasting between Yahuwah and his people. It can never be broken. It can never be done away with. That's why he said heaven and earth shall pass away. Not his words. There can never be a time, as long as Yahuwah exists, that there's no such thing as a nation of Israel. The nation Israel has to exist forever as long as Yahuwah exists. Because there's a binding agreement.
That's good, Mark.
Y'all hear that? YouTube, Facebook, the nations. Because see, you have to break this down to people. And I keep telling people, we're not playing, Yahuwah's not playing when it comes to this book. And this is not to make the nations or nobody feel bad, but people have to be given the truth, y'all. They have to be given the truth. It say, but of that day and hour no man knoweth, hour knoweth no man. No, not the angels in heaven, but my Father only. His Father only knows the time of the end and the return of the coming King, our Hamashiach. That's in his Father's hand and time to know. But he say, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. When Hamashiach returns to come and redeem his people, it'll be exactly like it was during the time of Noah. Because remember, up until this time, what has he been teaching and telling his disciples? He's been giving them what? Warnings. What was Noah doing for 120 years? He was giving the people what? A warning. Okay? It said, but as the days of Noah were, so shall it be, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. He said, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, or into the ark. So in other words, what were they doing?
Living.
They were living it up. They were living the good life. They weren't even going back and forth with y'all. You know what? They were living it up. They were eating and drinking. They were partying. They were living their life like there was not a care in the world. That's why I said at the beginning of this lesson, whatever you do, make sure every day you wake up, you have that sense of urgency. And when you don't feel that urgency, like tomorrow is not promised to us, immediately get on your knees and pray to the Father. Tell him you woke up with the wrong frame of mind. I'm not saying be scared. I'm saying having that feeling of urgency to know that we have to redeem the time and we don't have that much time. Because guess what? It's easy for me to get out of the bed. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go chill today. I think I'm going to drive down so I'm going to go call up the boys and we're going to go hang out. We're going to go have a few drinks. Go spend maybe $200 or $300 at the strip club. You know something, especially in COVID, that's the last place you want to be. And see, that's the wrong mindset to have. You should know better. You know something is going on around you. You should be able to see that. I shouldn't wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I done checked my bank account and I paid all the bills. Shoot, I still got $2,300 sitting up in here. All the bills been paid. All the groceries been covered. Man, I think I'm going to go shopping. Go make a shopping spree. And now, I done go shopping. Now, all of a sudden, $2,300 has gone to what? $300. Now, I've taken $2,000, knowing what I've been reading, knowing what Hamashiach has said, him telling us that this is going to be a time like nobody has ever seen or experienced since the beginning of time, and we've seen a lot of devastation take place on this earth since the beginning of time. Guess what? I'm not operating in my right mind. There's no way I should be able to wake up after reading this. I come in on Shabbat and I'm teaching, I'm telling y'all, and I go out and squander $2,000 to look cute during the tribulation? Because that's the only that's the only thing I can be thinking. Well, since I'm gonna be in the tribulation, I want to be flexing, be fly, not knowing that I'm gonna have you beside me. When I eat, guess what? I got to make sure that we eat together. Don't you know we can't be a community and we're together? I'm talking about you better go get yours like I got mine. And we're a community, and I'm eating, and I don't have a concern. It doesn't bother me that you're not eating. That's madness. There's no way I can do that. So even before we get together as a community, guess what my mindset has to be? Everything that I'm doing, it's bigger than I. When I spend this $1,000 here, I'm not spending it for Mori Aliyahu. That's for Andre, Abad Yahu, Yediah, Taboo Yahu. When I spend that money, it has to be for everybody in mind. And you hold my witness. I'm going to spend some thousands. I bought stuff I don't need to talk about. It's for y'all. It's not for me. I had a conversation with somebody. I said, you know what? I can be called home at any time. Who goes to say that I'm going to be with y'all in the when we have our community or whatever? But you know what? One thing I'll be able to do, I'll be able to leave here and lay my head down in Yahuwah's bosom, knowing I did my damnedest to make sure y'all was taken care of, or to put you in a position to not be left in the dark before I left here. As a Moray, I have to be that way. It always has to be about you first. And I'm not until what I said, my wife, about what I said, we spent some thousands, and I'm not talking about 6 and 7 and 8,000 in the last month or so. But it's for y'all. There's no way I can do anything and not have y'all at the center of it. And the purpose and reason behind it. So when I get up in the morning, I always have that, and I pray, I say, Yahuwah, let your people feel the same thing that I'm feeling. Because you're going to see, we're in the same position Noah was in. Those people were not going without warnings.
It's true.
He taught them all the way up for 120 years. Y'all, listen to me. Take heed. Hear what I'm trying to tell you. It's coming. You remember when we read earlier? He said that this was where? At the door. Noah did this 120 years. Until what? Him and his family, they went on that ark, and the door was closed. Guess what? Because it was at his door then. Let's keep reading. They were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. Don't you see that happening right now? They're marrying and giving, and there's nothing wrong with marriage. But when you got two big ass grown ass men talking about marrying, there's something wrong with it. When you got two women standing there, call them to being husband and wife or whatever you want to call it, it's something wrong with it. He's trying to show you something. He ain't just talking about marriage and just marriage. Let me tell you something. It's a good thing for a man to find a wife. But you notice I say it's a good thing for a man to find a wife? Not a man to find a husband or a wife to find a wife. They've changed the whole definition of what it means to be married. Now marriage has become so perverse and perverted to now everything is called a union of marriage. They even got some people, they married that dogs and stuff. That's crazy. But he said they'd be married and given in marriage. Why did he say married and given in marriage? Was not this same perversion and worse was going on during the time of Noah? These folk had them went into the watchers and stuff, or watchers going into the daughters of men. That same perversion that they had got knowledge of, now you're dealing with that same perverted spirit. And he said they did this when? All the way up until the day that Noah entered into the ark. It said, and knew not until the flood came and took them away, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. It said, then shall two be where? In the field. The one shall be what? Taken, and the other left. Y'all ever heard the Christian church teach about the rapture?
Yeah.
One gonna be taken and the other left behind?
That's where they get it from.
That's where they get it from. So what position should we want to be in? Taken or left behind?
Left behind.
You want to be left behind. You want to be left behind. Now let's read. It said, two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. He said, watch therefore, for ye know not the hour that our sovereign doth come. It said, but know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house what? To be broken up. In order to know when the thief had come or to be watched, you have to be there. You can't stop a thief from breaking in and stopping if you're not there. You want to be where? Left behind. It said, therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man coming. It says, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom the sovereign hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find him what? Doing. In order to be found doing, guess where you have to be? You have to be here doing. Y'all don't see it's all talking about a preparation and being able to sustain, to be alive, so you can be here when he returns? You know, the saints are going through the tribulation. There's another scripture I was going to turn to, but I'll get to it later. Because remember, what does the scripture tell us about when the Son of Man comes? Then he said, the dead in Christ shall what? Shall rise first. The dead in Christ, they will meet him first. Then what did it say?
Those who remain shall be caught up to meet him in the air.
Those that remain or those that are taken away?
Those who are asleep and remain.
The dead in Christ or those that were asleep shall rise first. They shall be what? Caught up to meet him. And then those that remain, you remember the ones that were left behind and not taken? This is why I say you want to be left behind. You don't want to be taken. Because remember, when he comes, he's coming to what? He's coming with a fervent fire. A fervent heat to do what? Destroy the earth.
Yeah.
The same way he came, then he said, as what was north, so shall it be when the Son of Man appear, when he come.
Mm-hmm.
Destroy the earth.
Those who are alive and remain, you know.
Because remember, those that were carried away with Noah, what happened to them?
They did.
You remember the flood came and carried them away.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones that were destroyed. The only ones that remained were Noah and his family. Weren't they caught up? Because remember, the ark was built on dry land, on the ground. Where were the people at when the ark was being built?
They're right there.
They were right there on the same earth, on the same ground. But when the flood came, what happened to the ark?
It rose.
It rolled. It was raised up. But what about the people that was on the ground with it? Well, they were washed away, carried away. When the Son of Man comes, what happens?
It will be raised up.
We'll be raised up. The dead in Christ shall rise first, then those that remain shall be caught up to meet him in the air, and in the moment of a twinkling of an eye, they shall what? Be changed. Because it's not going to take them all day to sterilize and purify this earth. It's going to be in the moment of a twinkling of an eye. By the time before you can realize what happened, you're going to be sitting in the kingdom on streets of gold just that fast. How do we know that? Didn't it say when he comes to New Jerusalem is coming with him? Or did y'all forget that part?
Not at all.
Now, there's going to be a building during the millennial reign of the nations are going to build, and when we reign over them, and we're going to live large. But that's just something to get you acclimated to royalty. So when royalty really gets here, you just fit right in. Oh, so they're going to rebuild, and they're going to build it well. You know, he has honed some skills in them. For the last, I don't know how many decades, they've gone to some of the finest schools and turned out to be pretty good architects. That's all Yahuwah was doing, getting them ready and training. Okay, they're going to build mansions for the people. Because remember he said, no longer shall you build mansions and not live in them.
You walk into places you didn't even build.
They're going to do that. He's allowed them to lie their way into some of the top universities and everything to get these skills and stuff. Because he has an assignment for them.
Why shouldn't they? We did it for them.
They
Exactly.
should be happy to return the favor.
But that's what, but what I'm saying, you paraphrase him, that's exactly what he said. No longer shall you grow vineyards and not reap or eat the grapes thereof.
Yeah.
You gonna eat these grapes, but they gonna grow them.
Yeah, we good.
And what time is it?
It's
4:15. I'm gonna cut it up right there. It's at okay, I went up too far. It's a verily I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. Remember, all of this takes place after a whole bunch has happened.
You missed verse 46.
Verse what?
46.
Blessed is that servant whom his, I read that. Blessed is his servant whom his sovereign when he cometh shall find so doing. It's a verily I say to you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming. See, that's what you don't want to do right there. You don't want to tell yourself, I got time. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And then I come get with everybody else later on. It said, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servant and to eat and drink with the drunken, What does it mean to eat and drink with the drunken? Is he talking about alcoholic beverages?
The sweet people.
What the sleep people are those that are drunken with the lust of this world.
So, biblical. No, man, I said it wrong. Babylonian here. Is that right? Like people that's living
The good life.
the good life. Yeah.
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 As they say. Yeah, people that are what? Looking at what's going on in the world. They're still chasing all of these dreams after these things of the world. After he's told you, he's warning you, telling you, look what's coming. This thing is going to be devastating.
Yeah.
You don't have time. Don't tell yourself in your heart that I got time, that the master's going, delaying is coming. And so you're going to sit down and eat with those, with the drunken. The drunken are the same people that had the same mindset you got. Man, we got time. Ain't nobody doing all that. Ain't nobody worried about them. They around here acting like the Lord gonna return tomorrow.
You never know.
Acting like the word gonna end tomorrow. Man, I'm gonna live it up. We can do that later on sometime. Let me tell y'all something. This man has showed us through all of these verses. You have to know how bad this thing is gonna get. Because remember, the flood caught all these people off guard. When that door was shut, it was a lot of bruised knuckles from knocking on that door, let us in. And when that door closes, or that window of opportunity, or that door of opportunity that's open now, and he keep begging you, come on, children, come on, gather yourselves. Come on, children, gather yourselves. You see, all of a sudden there's a corn shortage. You see all of these fires all over the world. You see, they're not talking about how bad these floods are in areas. You see floods all over the place. Now you have to have an earthquake in places that you would have never thought they'd have an earthquake in some of these places. He's showing you all of these things. But we keep telling ourselves it's not that bad. That's because you have sat down and you have drank with the drunken. Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Keith.
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying something.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And it said, and the sovereign of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of. He's not even expecting him. And shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be what? Weeping and gnashing of teeth. Why is he appointing him with the hypocrites?
He prepared himself.
Taylor, I mean, that's the answer I'm looking for, but I was looking for a little more explanation behind it. Zabut Yahoo said he didn't prepare himself. Why would he appoint him to the hypocrites or with the hypocrites?
Because you knew and you didn't follow faith.
Because you knew and you didn't follow.
There you go.
If you really knew in your heart, you would have done something. When he came, he would have found you what?
Work.
Found you doing. Working. That's why he said, occupy till he come. Does it make any kind of sense, y'all? Not only is it going to be bad here on earth, and if you do happen to survive what's going on, he's still going to put your ass out. Because if you're not surviving amongst me and the elect, the only way you can survive is how? You've aligned.
You gotta align yourself with the enemy.
You got to align yourself with the enemy or the beast system. You got to accept the mark. That's the only way you can live through, make it through it. But those that know that's not an option for them, you have to prepare like hell right now. I don't know if this book can explain it to us, because I know I can't. I don't have the words, because my vocabulary is limited anyway, to be able to explain you how severe, how hard, and how devastating it's going to be. Where people will take their own lives, take the lives of their loved ones, just to not have to face it. It's going to get so bad. He told you they're going to seek to find death. Seek death and won't be able to find it. I guess because Hollywood hasn't produced a movie yet that could give us kind of a picture, but I don't think there's a movie they can produce that can project the image or convey what the Most High is trying to tell us how bad it's going to be. When he told you that people will be standing there, flesh all of a sudden will fall off their bones. Their eyes will fall out of the orbits of their head. Their tongue shall disintegrate in their mouth.
And that's going to be due to nuclear weapons.
Bio warfare. Because there's some diseases and stuff they can let loose. It'll cause all your skin to deteriorate, and you won't have anything but skeleton. They even have infections and stuff you get now. I've seen people like sometimes when I would go visit in the hospital, they end up in hospice because they will get wounds and stuff. Y'all ever heard of flesh-eating bacteria? Mm-hmm. They would get wounds and stuff that couldn't heal. And I'm talking to these people, and they're talking to me, looking healthy, looking good, sitting up there, and they only have, a few weeks or a few months to live. All because of a wound that will not heal. Cells will not regenerate and repair themselves.
Can I say one more?
Good.
Actually, speaking about that flesh-eating bacteria, I have a friend who's a nurse, and I'm not going to say his name, in New Jersey, who's a nurse. And he told me during this whole COVID thing, that actually is coming up now. But see, the news won't tell you that flesh-eating bacteria till it's time for their time to post it out. Mm-hmm. So that's actually already happening as we speak, but it's just not publicized. Right. Because he's already seen it with multiple patients. Yep. And it's going to get worse. He told me, he said he already could tell that this is going to get worse. Let me tell y'all something. He saw patients of COVID way before it was really pushed out in the news. COVID has been here for a while, and I keep telling everybody, I'm like 99.9.9.9.9% sure. My mom passed away here with COVID. Every symptom that they list, she had it to the T. From the lungs to the ventilator, everything. Everything that they described, not a one missing, and she didn't have any ailments outside of what they described from COVID. But nobody was talking about it at that time. My wife, she was saying that, because she was one of the few that was talking about it, even where she works, how they had a whole bunch of kids in the school district, how, I don't know if it was like 600 kids or more, that would go to the hospital, and they were coming in and they were treating them for the flu. And she was telling them, this is not the flu. For a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old to come in and have the flu, have a fever of 106, 107, 108, 109, and not one of them have a seizure, that's not the flu. And she was the only one saying that this is not the flu, this is something different. Everybody looked at her like she was a purple and pink kitty cat. Strange.
But wasn't she right? They found out this was something else. And it had been out for a while. And let me tell y'all something. They don't know how to get a handle or a grip on this thing. Even in those countries and in places and states, nations and countries where they thought this thing had subsided,
Come back up.
guess what? It's rearing its head again. And not only that, it coming with a fierceness, and it has mutated into something else. But it's Yahuwah. This is all the Father. This is Yahuwah. That's why he told us to stand in a set apart place. It's a reason why he said, come ye from amongst them and be ye separated. Most times, the only way we get it because we're amongst them or going in areas where they are.
It's good, Lord.
People have said that's a bad thing to say. No, I'm just telling you your history.
It makes sense.
Just about every nation where Europeans have stepped and placed their feet, what happened to those people of those lands?
Dead.
They died from disease.
Yeah.
And once they weakened them with the disease, they were able then to take the weaponry and just finish them on out. I didn't write this history. Europeans recorded and wrote that history. Their own people recorded and wrote it. The what is it?
Bubonic plague.
Plague.
Say that 10 times.
I know, right? That was them. They didn't know how to practice good hygiene. Sewage and everything running in the streets, and you walking in it and living amongst it. You like to wipe yourselves out. Now, when they are immune to these things, because it pretty much came by way of them, it wipes out everybody else. It's a reason why your numbers are higher than anybody else in COVID. These nasty ass bacteria and stuff was foreign to you. They were nasty. People always have been and are today. That's why. It started with them. This is why the Most High, you know what? Y'all ever notice something? From the beginning of the book, what did the Most High always teach Israel? About cleanliness. That might be your wife. Oh yeah, you're going to let them have sex with her. But you know what? Y'all going to wash yourselves and set yourselves apart for this cleansing time period. You're not fixing to jump up and just go amongst the people. All through the book. You dealing with blood? You have to throw away them clothes, burn them, wash yourselves, and set your parts set aside to the next evening or whatever, till you cleanse or clean. You women, you know you have a monthly cycle. And a monthly cycle is all about what? It's purification and cleansing. But with that, and after that, and while you're on that, guess what? You're set apart. You cannot go amongst the people. But the other nations that do whatever they want to do, ain't no kind of cleanliness with them. But that wasn't us. He always looked out for us and gave us that. But with everybody else, they never had a codified body of legislation and different stuff like that. And that's why they were always carrying these things. Israel, just make sure whatever you do you keep this mindset, keep this urgency, and keep pushing forward, doing as much as we can, whenever we can, to prepare ourselves and to have ourselves ready for what's to come. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. So at this time, we are going to open the floor for any questions, any comments. You might want to interject something or say something. So at this time, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
So one thing I was thinking about was, in the days of Noah, he was warning, like Israel does today, that are awake. But, all the rest of the people, they're just living like normal. They'd never seen rain. So it's like, what's rain? It's going to flood? What is that? And so just like how it's saying tribulation, like we never seen before, we can't picture that because we don't know what that looks like. So that's why a lot of our people are asleep. It's like, well, right now everything's fine. It's not at my doorstep, so I guess we're okay. We have some time.
It's over there.
Exactly. You're 100% correct, and that's why he told him, said, don't you go sit down and drink with the drunken. Because a lot of people drunk and they think everything's good, everything is fine. And they still trying to set up them a kingdom right here on this earth. He's telling you all this is coming, and you got people who are yet trying to set them up a kingdom or set them up a place right here. And he's telling you, no, this fixing to be destroyed. Don't do it. Don't even waste time with that. All your time and effort need to be into this. Because he's coming. Don't think he's going to delay. And when it says he's coming, do y'all think it's talking about him physically showing up in the body? Yeah, that's going to come later on. But how does he come before then?
Oh, he comes to destroy.
Remember, he comes by the signs and stuff. Because remember, he's not coming in the physical, in the flesh to gather Israel from the nation. He's going to destroy. He's going to deal with these nations by way of his ruach and his spirits. Because remember, he said, I'm going to lead them just like he did in the wilderness. Did he not tell us he's going to lead us what? A pillar, a cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night? That's before he comes in the physical. He's yet going to be working through his prophets. So yeah, people think, oh no, it ain't gonna rain. Yeah, we've been all our life, ain't nothing that fell from these skies. You talking about water falling from the sky? I know that's some good liquor you drinking, Noah.
No, that's good.
Matter of fact, give me a shot. If it got you thinking like that, it got to be good. And people think you're crazy today. You tell them what's going on. First thing they want to say, man, these people always some kind of conspiracy theory. They also on some kind of craziness or madness. Always on some kind of doomsday stuff. No, he just told you about doomsday. I'm just repeating what he said. It's our job as the mouthpiece of the Most High to repeat and regurgitate what he said, so you can hear it. There's a doomsday coming.
That fool done went up in that boat and closed the door with all the animals. It's hot in there, and he gotta be crazy. And the rain started.
Yep. Any more questions? Comments? Well, at this time, we're going to stand and we're going to pray our way out. We're going to ask our Aki Abad Yahu if he would pray aside and pray over the food.
Abba Father, thank you once again for bringing us together, keeping us throughout the week to give you the esteem, give you all the thanks for that you're doing. We thank you for another great lesson by Memorial Aliyah. We thank you for pouring your ruach into him. Father, I ask that you continue to do those things, continue to keep us through these troubling times, continue to provide for us. Just keep us from the things seen and unseen, Father. Father, once again, we thank you. We thank you for everything. We thank you for just waking us up this morning. We thank you for just the lessons that you give us. We ask that you continue to do those things. Continue to protect Maury Eliyahu, Maury Kasadaba, Maury Lamad, all the Maury's who are congregating Congregate Yashra'al in the Commonwealth. And Father, y'all just continue to provide those things. Keep us in the mindsets of kingdom mindsets. Keep us in that straight and narrow pathway. And Father, Yah, I ask those things through your set apart Son's name, Yashra'al Mashiach. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.